All right, let's start. How do I change this at some time? Right. Now you can hear me. Now you can hear me, right? Yes. Thank you. Now, yes. All right. I'm gonna backtrack again. We will be talking about Simone Biles, her withdrawal from the Olympics. She's an American gymnast that she withdrew from the Olympics. This is like a mental health. Um, we're not gonna say issue. It's not like an issue, but it's attributed to mental mental health. Some people say that she's right about doing it. Some say that she's wrong, and I think we could chat a bit about it because the concept of mental health is still something that we should be talking about. We should be addressing it, and you can hear me now. Okay, now you can hear me. And we're gonna be talking about hostile culture that I understand by your comments that some of you don't know what is hostile culture, and it will be. I want to start about this hostile culture, like hustling. It's like working a lot, like overworking yourself, overworking to the point that not caring about your mental health. But first, before we begin, I really want to thank you for being here. I understand I absolutely random to lives my the hours of my lives are. I am sorry if I don't I haven't notified you through email because today if you are on my email list. Today I sent the first chapter of a book that I'm translating. I wrote a book on 2018. In fact, that book that I wrote, I wrote it because I'm gonna explain why I wrote it in Spanish. I'm translating it and I'm sharing absolutely free every translated chapter in English to my email list. So if you are still not on my email list, I'm gonna give you a link. I'm gonna post the link afterwards on this video so you can. It's when you download my free tips. I'm gonna talk about this book. This book is not yet released on Amazon. It's in Spanish. It has to do with my own struggle with mental health, with depression, with hostile culture, and all this problem that we cannot see. We sometimes we cannot see, and I'd like to say also, yes, type A, just as Angela says, type A personality. In other words, the type A personality are the ones like, I don't know, Elon Musk that is working 70 or 80 or 90 hours a week, that have free enterprises that are doing so many things at once that it's like, hey, you have to just do that. I personally, I it was very difficult to understand that I'm not that kind of personality. I tried to fake myself into that, into, hey, I can tackle all this, I can work, I can hustle hard, but it was draining me. It was really poisoning my life, and it's sad how we can sometimes romanticize this working every day 10 hours a day. I understand that sometimes uh, For example, this is gonna be a bit random, but if you want to, if you want to comment, if you want to ask questions about this, I was talking about hostile culture. It's like you have a culture in which the one that works more and the one that earns more, that has more money, that monetizes everything, that works themselves into an early grave, that's the one that wins. And believe it or not, there are many people that live like this, and it's a really toxic. And I myself was really dragged into this culture last year in 2020, and it was really a dark place. So, see some of your comments. I saw a comment back then, a little upwards, the comment stream. All right. This I thought this comment was interesting. Simone Biles, the gymnast, she was right to quit and she's sorry to her teammates. She's wrong to try to make herself into a mental health advocate for it. Okay, it's a physical condition and it's a sad timing. All right, in this case, we can say that our mental health is something. If we are depressed, if we feel overworked, if we feel anxious, if we feel not on our best days, if we feel like we are low on energy, and at the same time try to relate it to how is our performance. The word performance can mean not only for an athlete and a sports athlete, but also our work, the way our output. And this is very important because this kind of people that work all the time, that are constantly like pushing harder and say that we have to make more money and make more things and make and build greater and go faster. I understand that they have this drive, and I really say I admire them at times. I must say that. But the problem is one thing is admiring someone, and the other very different thing is saying, I want to be like them. I want to fake myself into being a type A personality. I want to fake myself into being part of that hostile culture. I want to fake myself into doing everything it takes to make more money, to grow everything bigger, to do something that no one has ever done before. And that's the moment that we are like losing our I don't know, like life goal. And this is something that it's a bit hard to understand from Simone, because you know how much, or we can figure out, we can think, we can imagine how much an athlete has to train, to practice, to endure, to go to the Olympics. And once there, it's incredible to say that something that happens every 4 years, and it had to happen last year, but due to the pandemic has to be like pushed one year to this. And once she's there, why don't you do everything you have to do to make it right? And you make questions like, I don't know, maybe I'm preparing for 3 conferences. I'm going to prepare myself to 3 conferences. I want to prepare for 6 months. And when I go to the venue, and in the end, I give only 2 conferences and I forfeit the third one. It will be kind of strange. People will say, hey, why don't you just go for the third one, even if you are not feeling so good? And I think that's easy for us to sometimes say, what could be possibly the problem into just trying it, into just going for it? Simone could okay, let me stop for this comment. Simone could have caused harm by falling at any moment while performing, so it will have gone use another method. But yes, maybe it was worth the risk. But in the case of athletic performance. And this is a great distinction. Maybe you're not an athlete, I'm not an athlete, and I really don't aspire. I like working out, but I'm not aspiring to be an athlete. But an athlete is always risking a serious injury. No matter the athlete, most athletes are like drive their bodies to the extreme, to extreme limits, and you always are risking, especially in gymnastics, where it's so demanding for the body. So we have to take into account that part of that mental process that you need, the physical and the mental, that's something that you cannot separate, right? The physical output is going to be related to the mental toughness of the person. But there's a problem with mental toughness, and the problem is, how do you become mentally tough, and or how do you know that you're actually mentally tough? And this is something that I did not understand when I was backtracking to 2018. I have a real hard struggle, a crisis, an existential crisis about purpose. And I was looking for my purpose. I didn't know where to start. I was like speaking to people, talking to people. I began writing this book that I told you. I'm gonna. If you're subscribed to my emails, you're gonna receive every chapter, like every couple of days, absolutely free. There's no charge for it. If you want to support my channel, just remember that you can give super chats, super stickers. There's a PayPal link in the description. But this book, you're gonna receive it chapter by chapter, absolutely free, every day. And I wrote this book because I wanted to find what was the secret of one person finding their purpose. In the case of Simone, and that's what is interesting. In the case of Simone, we have no doubt that someone that makes to the Olympics, it's clear about their purpose. It's something that it got to be in the marrow of their bones. They have to feel it since years. It's not something that you can make up. So having that opportunity and making that issue from mental health so relevant that you decide to withdraw, it has to, at least, even if you're not, if you don't agree with her, you at least have to stop and think about it and reflect upon it. And that's what I was wondering about. I was thinking about, how do you know if you reach mental toughness? Because we're talking about our physical performance. We know how fast can we go. We know how long can we run. We know how much we can bench press, or I don't know if and how much do we take to run 10 kilometers. There's an easy way to have a marker for that, to mark your performance. In the case of work, maybe if you are working for yourself, maybe if you're a freelancer, then you say, I'm gonna make this much money this month, and I'm gonna try to make much more money the next month. And you can also say, I want to make the same money, but I want to work 20% less. That is also a goal. It's something that you can measure. You can measure your physical aptitude, your physical abilities. That's easy. You can measure your the output of your work. If you, for example, you have a job, you can also, most jobs, you can measure the output of your job. But the mental part, this what we got here, how do we measure that? How do we measure it? And it's extremely easy to fall into the trap of saying you're just not mentally tough. And this is a kind of questions that arises. I understand. Let me read some of the comments before I go on. I want to talk. Oh, I want to talk about Naomi Osaka too, the tennis player. Is a great tennis player. I believe she's the number one in the world, and she's got some problems about those press conferences after the games that she had to withdraw from the Roland Garros. I believe because she could not stand the press conference after the match since she was penalized. The case of Naomi Osaka is very important for this, and I'm going to explain in a minute. I just want to read a few of your comments. All right, you're already fighting in the comments. I understand. All right, but you're living. You're keeping it. You keeping it safe. The comment. Okay, I equate. This is interesting. What Celestita says. I equate mental toughness as resilience. Resilience. I don't know the pronunciation. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing it right. Resilience. The ability to keep calm. Yeah, like the posture, like keep calm under pressure. It's like you're able to keep track of your emotions, keep track of the way your body and your mind and your spirit reacts to this a struggle. That's resilience, and that's important. That's something that we have to take into account. But this is a two-edged sword, and this is very important. I want you to consider this when we're talking about mental toughness and resilience, or the ability to withstand a struggle. Since we cannot measure mental health, we cannot measure mental toughness. No one can measure it for you, and no one can measure it for me or for anyone. Then it's very easy to fall into the trap that if you quit something, that you withdraw from something, is because you're not mentally tough. And that doesn't work like this. That doesn't work like that. And this is extremely important. And you might say, why does this have to do with body language? You're the body language guy. That's something that I wanted to talk about. That is, I enjoy doing the body language analysis and all this, but I always remind you that body language is a reflection of the emotions that we're feeling. And if you want to understand people, or you want to understand yourself, it's not enough to just looking at the outside manifestations of those emotions. It's important to understand what's going on inside. And sometimes understanding those emotions means that you have to try to go deeper on what is going inside the people. And it helps a lot if you, of course, try to put yourself in their shoes, try to walk a mile on those shoes, and of course understand all these terms. There are people like hostile culture, that we have resilience, that we have mental toughness. And that's why I mentioned Naomi Osaka, tennis player, number one in the world, and was penalized for not attending a press conference. This is really complicated, and it's simple at the same time, because an athlete, there's a book. If you want to read a book in about the experience of an athlete, one that is very interesting is this book, the Andre Agassi memoir. That book is really good because Andre Agassi hated tennis. He managed to reach to be number one in the world, but he hated tennis with all his soul, with his body, with everything. He hated it, and I was number one in the world. And that's an example. That's an extreme example. I never advise you trying to be the best at something that you hate. But that is an extreme advice. That memoir that tells you it's incredible how he describes all you have to do mentally and physically to be in a match, and what it takes, how it drains you to be in a tennis match. And I cannot possibly like wrap my head around what Naomi had to do in every one of those matches to say, hey, I'm giving it all in what I do best. What I do best is playing tennis, right? That's no one can doubt that. She's the best of the world at playing tennis. Totally agreed. Then why is it is so important that she answers questions in the press conference? The press conference after those matches. And I understand this is something like willpower, something that willpower, you have that mental toughness, that resilience, that I'm going to keep that comment on, that resilience. You have spent everything point to point in the tennis match. You have no resilience, no mental energy left. And you have to sit down. We're talking about a press conference. Why is it a press conference? The press conference is for the media. We have to remember that sports is half sports and the other half is business. All right? And most of that business is like the sponsors, the ones that are backing her career and everything. They want her to talk about her game. They want her to talk about what went wrong. What does she think that he could do better? We see a lot of press conference. I don't know which kind of sport do you follow, but literally every kind of sport has press conference after the matches, so the athletes and the managers can say what went wrong and what went right. And this is absolutely natural. But there is a problem. There's a fundamental problem with that. And every tennis player that at first criticized Naomi and afterwards defended her and supported her agree that the press conferences are hell, are literally hell, because people really want to know what went wrong. And that's something really wrong with media. We know that good news don't get clicks. The bad news are the one that get clicks. So if you got all these reporters that want to know what went wrong, because what went wrong is what gets clicks, and this is a phenomenon that we cannot escape, then you build double pressure because you come from a match and maybe you did not play to the level that you wanted to play. You're second guessing yourself about those plays that you say, I could have done better, I should have done better, I should have done this, so many training for this, and you are totally mentally spent, and you have to talk to, I don't know, 40 people that are asking you questions about what you yourself are like destroying yourself about. That is really hard. We have to take into account that. And I want to like make a comparison with a very interesting phenomenon. I'm going to make a pause in the sports industry and go for this cinematography of the movies industry. There are a lot of actors and actresses that do not watch their own movies. I'm going to repeat that. There are a lot more actors and actresses that you can imagine do not watch their own movies. And the most important that I can remember at this point is Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp doesn't watch his own movies. There are many actors and actresses that don't, but he doesn't do that. He never. He has never seen. I believe he has never seen, or maybe has seen one or two of his own movies, but he doesn't do that. And the explanation, I think it was Reese Witherspoon that made a very good explanation about it. Reese Witherspoon explained that it's like you, as an actor or actress, you know everything you did right and wrong, but you already did it. You cannot change it. All right? Watching your own movie is like watching over what you did right or wrong. And that's when we fall again in the second guessing yourself. And second guessing, it took me a bit to understand the term second guessing. The second guessing has to be with self-awareness. It's when you make a decision and you spend one day, one week, sometimes even months, or sometimes even years, thinking, what if I did something else? What if I could have done something else? It's something like it's something like stresses you. You begin to replay the past. You begin to think about what you did. You think, what if I did something else? And if you acted in a movie, if you watch the movie, you're gonna be thinking about this, and that is gonna not gonna help you for the next time, right? That you make another movie, because you want to be to make great movies all the time, right? But in a press conference about a movie, they're not talking about exactly how did you make the expression of this emotion. They're not talking really about your performance. They're talking about the details of the story or the experience with the director, and they not generally they don't talk about the performance itself. Sometimes when you sit down to talk about your career, then you talk about, hey, I think there was a hit, there was a miss, but it's not so much pressure. In the case of the athletes, in the case of Naomi, you have all your energy, your mental energy spent, and you have to face, okay, people asking what went wrong. And if you're not used, for example, I'm going to talk about myself in this moment. I don't have any problem. Making public speeches. I used to do a lot of public speeches years ago to 100, 200 people. I really never had a stage fright or any fear of talking to the public. But something that I don't like is interviews. And that's why you don't see me doing many interviews. I get offered interviews, but I politely decline because I really don't like them. I really don't like doing interviews. If I want to talk about something, if I think there is a topic to be addressed, I create a video or I create a live and talk directly to you. But I really don't like doing interviews. That's a personal decision, something that I decided. But in this case, when people are not there, maybe Naomi has stage fright. She could have stage fright perfectly. Could be afraid to talk to people, 40 people. Maybe she's not afraid to playing tennis in front of, I don't know, 5,000 people, but she's afraid to talking to 40. It's perfectly possible. Then we have this kind of mental breakdowns. And it's really hard to understand, exactly because for the same reason that we were talking earlier, it's very difficult to really address or measure our mental toughness. And everything, withdrawing, quitting, or renouncing or saying, hey, I'm done, I can't stand this anymore, most of the time is going to feel like a failure. And this is very dangerous. This is very dangerous because let me read some of the comments. All right, this is really good comment. JB, thanks JB. I have a job. There are parts of it that I loathe, but they are part of the job, so I can't avoid them. Exactly. There are parts of the job that you cannot avoid. In the case of the athlete, there's I think there is no athlete that likes to practice. I've seen interviews, I have read books, I have read articles on them, have been podcasts, and every single time that the practice topic arises, they all say that they hate that with all their soul. There's something that they know that they have to do. So there's that. They have their purpose. They know that what they have to do. They are absolutely sure that they hate the practice, but they see the practice as a mean to be able to manifest what they want to do. And this is the important part. This is the important part that I want you to understand, and what really we all should care about. We have to be very clear of what we want to do and what we don't want to do. And sometimes it's really easy, or it's easier to understand, or easier to figure out what we don't want to do not want to do. It's like, what do you want to do in life? We're I don't know, 16 years old, 17 years old. What do you want to do? What do you want to study? What do you want from life? I don't know. No have an idea. We are 16 years old, and people begin asking us those questions. We are not aware of anything, but we can begin to be aware of what we don't like. For that, of course, we have to try many things and say, hey, I don't like this, I don't like that. I like something, but I know that I have to make a bit sacrifices doing things that I maybe don't like. But that's important. The important part is to be sure that that's something that resonates with you. And everything, all of these parts are a very complex system that it's really hard to comprehend, and it's really hard, especially if we keep comparing ourselves to other people. Maybe there are tennis players that not only play tennis very good, but also are very charismatic. I think that Novak Djokovic is not only a very good player, but is also very charismatic. So that's something that works very good for him. So something that is really works in his favor. That's a talent that he has, and that is a talent that he can use for the industry. Of course, he has his tantrums, breaking rackets, and maybe he has sometimes loses his patience. He must these mental struggles as any athlete has, but he can use these talents for his advantage, this charisma. But you have to be sure that what you're doing is something that you can really stand for. And there's this Alan Watts. Alan Watts was a British philosopher from 20th century. He has this very funny question, a very specific question. That is, if money was not a problem, what will you be doing? What would you do if you could do anything that you wanted and money was not a problem? Of course, we know that money is always a quote problem. That's a topic for another live. Like how do we frame the topic of money? Money maybe is not a problem, but we know that even if money doesn't bring happiness itself, we need it, and we have to make or be of value to society. And the way we are of value to society is the way that we're gonna value in return. That's a topic for. That's a very complex topic that I'm not gonna be touching a lot here. But the concept is very important, because you might be stressing or being depressed or being anxious or being miserable, having a miserable life, trying to struggle or struggling with something that is just not your thing. And it's really dangerous, because you think you will think that you're not that mentally tough, and it's not just right. It's just not right. Maybe you're not mentally weak. Maybe you're doing something that you just are not into it, and you're thinking, this is the only thing that I can do. There's no way that I can do something that I like, and something that I like, or I can, I don't know, earn money with it. For example, I think the topic of money always arises because sadly it's not common of people do the things they love and earn a healthy dose of money doing it. That is very sad. We should all have the privilege of doing something that we like to do, love to do, are passionate to do. But all these are examples. Simone, Naomi, Novak, all these are examples that even if we are passionate about what we do, we could have mental breakdowns. That's something that we have to consider, because there's a lot of pressure on it. We got pressure here because we're talking about the Olympics. We got the upper. We're talking about pressure about because they are the top of their game, the number ones in the world. That's something that drives a lot of pressure, but not because you're not a top tier athlete, or you're not, I don't know, the greatest entrepreneur of your country, or the greatest actor of your generation. You will not have this kind of struggles, or this kind of trying to go further, or trying to say, hey, I have to do this better and better and better. And that's a trap. And that's a trap of the creative world. Many people in this age of technology have managed to escape that part of the corporate job, the 9 to 5. I'm going to start my own little business, and I don't know, in Instagram and YouTube. I could be could do some streaming, become a YouTuber, or open an e-commerce store and people, or generate content. I love creating content. You know that that's something that I love to do. But in my case, it's something that when I create a video, and I like the way that the video, like how it came out, I always have the problem, I have the struggle when I'm starting the next video. And the struggle is, will the next video live to the reputation, the level of detail, of the level of humor, of the level of research of the previous video? And that's something that stresses me a lot. And that's something that all of us that are in creative work, creating content, that writing, creating videos, creating music, we're always wondering if we are going to be able to nail it the next time. And there's a trick. There's a very useful trick And the trick is precisely from tennis. The trick is you have to play point to point. Every point of tennis, you have to play it like if there's absolutely nothing before that point and there's absolutely nothing after that point. That point is um, like a moment in the universe, unique, that doesn't have to do at all with the general outcome of the championship or the game or anything. You just concentrate on that point. You don't think of what you did wrong before, and you don't think what are you going to do in the next point. You concentrate on the current point. And that brings us to another concept that is a buzzword that we talk about a lot about it, or we read in the magazines, in the media. That is mindfulness. I'm not going to talk about mindfulness because the concept has been really distorted, but it's about what I was talking in my latest video. I did a video about an 8-minute guided meditation to dissolve, to treat anxiety. That is being able to live in the present moment. That's something that is really important. And living in the present moment is not only trying to not think about the past and trying not to not think about the future, but trying to not think about what other people believe that is the right way to live. And that has everything to do we're talking today. We're talking about hostile culture. I was bound to hostile culture, that overworking, working 10, 12 hours a day, every day of the week, making all the money you can, making more money. Look how many money I made. Look how many money, and I made so much money, and money, and that is not the way. That is not the way. It's great to think about that, about how can you grow as a professional, but everything, and I think our relationship, the relationship we have, Body Language Bodies, is gonna last a lot of years. I hope that it's gonna last decades. And I'm gonna be talking a lot about systems. And systems, not in the sense that you have a schedule or have a system for working or a system for your business, but systems in the sense that nothing in this world, in no dimension, can be treated isolated from the others. You cannot treat your work isolated from your family or from yourself as a person or from society or from anything. So you cannot you think of one thing, it's totally separated from the other. That is so wrong. I'm not gonna be talking about systems today. That's something that I should take my time to talk about it, to understand how our actions, how our way of thinking affect everything, and how we are connected to everything. We all are part of a system, and there can be people that believe that I'm talking in spiritual terms. I'm talking in spiritual terms. If you are not into spirituality, totally understand that. If you're not into religions or you're an atheist, even if you're an atheist, you should understand, you should realize that there is no action that doesn't have a direct reaction in everything that is around us. And that is almost to the point of thinking. The way you think, what you think, how you manifest those things, doing them, executing them. Everything is gonna have an impact on everything that is around you. There's a bit of metaphysics to it. There's a lot of physics to it. There's a lot of quantum physics to it. There's also classical physics to it. I I can talk about it by hours, but I want to try to keep on on point on the topic today. That is mental health, and that is something very peculiar, that we see examples of people that are at the top of their game, that are in the Olympics, and are withdrawing from that competition for a number of reasons that we have to understand that there is a word, a very important word, that is vulnerability. Vulnerability is a really critical word, a necessary word in our world. The problem is, and I understand this, I was born in the 70s. I was born in the 70s, and I think our generation learned to do things come rain or shine, no matter what. Veronica, thank you for your super chat. Thank you very much. We had to do, we will learn to do things no matter what, and to stand well, everything. And people are saying that as years and decades go by, this generation is like, I don't know how they call that in English, the glass or the crystal generation, that get offended by everything, that you cannot say anything because they get offended. I understand that it's just one part of the internet. It's not all the internet, and it's only in some countries. I can guarantee you that it doesn't happen as frequent in, for example, in. I'm no, I better not name any countries or not any areas, but in some people seem to be overly triggered, offended by things. But we have to also understand, we not necessarily have to feel like we are related to those people for feeling vulnerable. And I'm gonna stress again the fact that mental health and mental toughness and resilience cannot be measured. And that's a big problem that we have. It's not a problem per se. It's not a problem, but it's a problem with when you say, you think, yes, they call them snowflakes, like this guy, this old man, Dan Pena, that says snowflakes, they cannot stand anything. But it's not about being a snowflake. It's being about, we've never been told how can we understand what we truly want. And this is something that I've touched in other lives, and I really did. It's one of the most important things that I could tell you. And you could ask me. We could have a conversation. I'm not gonna tell you here in live publicly what do I really want from life, because it's a very personal answer. If we had a personal conversation, maybe I can open. We can no microphones, secret conversation in a totally guarded, and no cell phones, anything. I could tell you what I want from life, but it's something that is very hard. It's very hard to get to the point that we know, but really know, what do we want, because we don't ask ourselves enough that question. And that was a question I asked myself in 2018. What do I really want? And this book, I'm talking about this book. Yes, this book is called Churchill's Salt Shaker. I wrote it in Spanish originally. I'm translating it. For those of you who are a bit late to the party, I'm translating the book chapter by chapter, and I'm sharing the translated chapters to my email list, absolutely free. If you're in my email list today, you receive the first chapter you're gonna be receiving them um, one or every 1 or 2 days. But I wanted that to answer that question. What do I really want? If you don't know what you want, every single thing that you do is gonna give you a mental breakdown sooner or later. And if you're part of that, if you're seeing people around you, you are like scrolling through Instagram and say, hey, let's say, look at, I don't know, Mariah is doing great on Facebook. People, everyone is smiling. Everyone is doing great. Everyone is like killing it, and you will feel like a total loser, just because that. First, you're comparing to the image of people are projecting, and that's something that also creates anxiety, and you feel really frustrated. And people get frustrated only by browsing social media. That's another topic for another life. Social media browsing. How can we like shield ourselves against so that it doesn't affect us? But the problem is, if we don't know where are we going and how can we find the path to get there, and especially it reminds me of a Zen story, one of the most important, most relevant Zen stories about a young boy, a young man that goes to a kung fu master and asks him, "Master, how long would I take to be a kung fu master like you?" And the master says, "Well, you're gonna take 10 years." And the man says, "Hey, that is too much. 10 years is too long. I want to do it faster. And what if I train twice as hard as the other students? Twice as hard." The master says, "Well, if you train twice as hard, you're gonna take 20 years." The man says, "No, I really, this doesn't make sense." But let me get this straight. Let's say that I live with you. I train every day, 24 hours, even in my sleep, for I don't know, as hard as I can, as hard as no one has trained under your tutelage. How long would it take? Then the master answered, 30 years. And then the man was absolutely confused. I don't understand. How come that I say that I'm going to train harder and you say it's going to take more time for me to become a master? And the master says, well, it's very simple. If you have an eye fixed on where you're going, then you have only one eye to find your path to it. That is so simple. Have one eye fixed on where are you going. You just have the other eye to find your path. This is a little counterintuitive for what we're saying. But the real lesson here is we sometimes really don't know where we are going. We're like in a ship in the middle of the ocean. We're trying to guide ourselves. We have an eye on the stars. We have an eye on the sun, trying to decide where do we go. But we don't know. We don't really know how to get if we're not sure where we are going. This is very important. Once we know where are we going, once I realize, hey, me, Jesus, I want to do this, I want to become this, I want to create this, I want to build this. Once I make the decision, it makes everything so much easier because I just have to work towards that decision. I just have to be consequent with what I feel, what I said, what the goal I set. If I set a goal this week and I change the goal next week and I change the goal next month, what do you think is going to happen? I will get nowhere. What do you think is going to happen with my mental health? It's going to be destroyed, literally destroyed. I will feel like a failure. I will feel like I'm not getting anywhere. And I'm going to think that that's me, that I'm incompetent, unprofessional, that I have no talent, I have no power over my circumstances. And that's just that I haven't decided what do I want to do, what I want to become. And this is really, really important. And that's the contrast I want to make with the fact that you see people around you, you see your friends or you see your family doing things that maybe you don't want to do. Or you see people in social media like being successful at something and you simply say, hey, I don't want to do that. And you might feel pressure onto doing things that you don't like. And this is when it becomes hard. But you have to make the decision. You have to make the decision of saying, no, I don't want to do this. And I won't do this. And your family is going to say, hey, he's the weird one. Weird one. He's the black sheep, the conflicted, the one who always says no, the one who always tries to swim against the current. And that's a problem. Your friends are going to say, why do you act like that? We don't have any problem being like this. And society will also ostracize you, could pull you to the side. They say, no, this is not the way that it has to be done. This is the way that has to be done. There's no right or wrong here. And that's another part that I cannot, we cannot help with this. This is like Simone that withdrew from the Olympics. It comes like a shock for many people. Some people say she is in her right, she made the right decision. Some people say, hey, she's a snowflake, she's in the Olympics, she should be grateful, she should go all the way no matter what. Do you think any of them, any of those people are right or wrong? Any of those people can say whatever they want. But the only one who has the power to make her decision is Simone. And we might not be like aligned with that decision. We may not agree with that decision. I personally don't know all the details about their decision. I know that she has struggled a lot with the topic of abuse too. But I think that I want society and I want people to respect my decisions. For example, my very simple decision of not making interviews, then I just have to respect her decision, right? And not only respect her decision, but try to study, try to understand what can I get from that. And for example, I see the example of Naomi Osaka, that she doesn't like to do, she hates, she feels like she crumbles in these press conferences. And maybe I will not crumble on a press conference, but I will crumble on other occasions. And I could get her example and like adapt to my own experience. And that's something that I always tell my students. We can always learn something from anyone, even if we don't agree with what they are doing. We have to go to the fundamentals. Maybe you have no problem with doing a press conference. Maybe you love doing a press conference. But what you have to see here is a woman that has the guts to say no to an immense pressure from sponsors, from the industry, from the media to do something, but she manages to say no, to hey, to draw a line. Maybe for her sport, for her performance as a complete athlete, because an athlete also is inspiration for young people. She is an inspiration for young people, and those press conferences are also a way for young people to watch her, like her human side, her talking, her expressing, her facial expression. It's a way of connecting with her. So she's also aware that not going to those press conferences, she's not connecting with her fans as much as she could. There's other ways that she could, maybe in an interview, in a controlled interview, and then maybe a few days after the match, maybe it could be a good idea. But this is a problem that doesn't have an easy answer. But the hard part is that your answer is going to be very different than my answer, and that's totally fine. That is the right. If your answer is the same as mine, well, great. We can talk. We can share the same insights. That's why we are here. Like you like the way that I express my ideas. I know that not everybody likes the way I express my ideas in my videos. I totally find that many people don't like the way that I talk, or maybe the way I frame my cases, or the way that I include humor in something that may hurt my credibility, and I really don't care, because I know what is my goal, and I know what is my goal with my channel, and my goal is exactly this, and that's why I'm doing this live today. I was really afraid. I must say that I was really afraid in the past days, because you might notice that I was trying to do other kinds of videos, and this meditation, 8-minute meditation, people like it a lot. But I was a bit afraid of trying to change the formula. But if I don't try to change the formula, I will become stagnant. I will become like solidified, crystallized, and that is very dangerous. I understand that how dangerous is that. It already happened to me in 2017, and it happened to me because I myself said that it's going to happen. I said, like, in 2015, I don't know, I was so like fixed minded, like hard minded, like hard head. I said that I'm gonna hit a wall in 2017, and if I say that I'm gonna hit a wall in 2017, then guess what happened? I hit a wall in 2017, and I didn't know it. That was the worst part. I didn't know it. That's why 2018 was so hard. I was a bit better in 2019. Then in 2020, I fell into hostile culture. I got to push harder, make more money, work harder, do better. If you don't work as hard, if you don't do more and more and more, then you're mentally weak, and that's wrong. I'm not a type A personality. I'm not Elon Musk. I cannot work 40 hours a week. I can't. And it took me a lot to understand that I am not lazy. It took me a lot to understand that. That is my answer, my personal answer that I'm giving you. It took me a lot to understand that my brain, my mind, works in a sometimes unpredictable way. I'm a creative person, and I've always considered me an artist. Some of you already know. I've told you in emails. I've told you in other lives. I'm first and foremost, an artist. I like architectural drawing. I've been a musician too. I love writing. I, my emails. I love creating videos. I love editing the videos so I don't know, like you learn something and have fun while learning, and have all this interest, but all of them have to do with art. And art is something that is very hard to systemize. That you can just make a system out of it, make something a structure. The creative mind is very hard to say. You have to make a video today. You have to make this today, and you have to write this today. And I've learned to tame my mind in a way, but it's still hard. And moments like this, things like Simone, it's something that made me think. I was going to make a video, an edited video about Simone, in fact, but I decided to make a live. I decided to talk a bit with you. I'm sorry if I haven't been able to read so many comments. I made the comments window bigger and still, but I'm so pushed into trying to share these insights with you. That is something it's like real pain. It's not physical pain. It's not physical pain that I have to take something for the pain, but it's something that I think is like pieces, small tips, small solutions that I think that could work for you. That's one of the reasons why I created this 8-minute anxiety or guided meditation for anxiety. I have done it with my patients, and I decided that I had to massify it, make it for many people at once. And I liked the process. I like writing something that gives you some peace, that makes you a story that you can hear, that you can enjoy just with your ears, that you can see beautiful scenery. That's something that I wanted to experiment. And that's something that at first, with my first videos, I want you to understand that I have struggled a lot. You have no idea how much I have struggled to try to understand what is my place here. And this is an absolutely personal place. I still haven't figured out. I don't think not even 50%. There's so many things that are just hidden to me from myself. I'm still figuring out as I'm building things. And as much as I like creating videos about all these topics, I think from any topic, I think one of the latest topics that I didn't think was going to be as interesting as I thought at first was the video from Britney Spears' brother, Brian Spears, the video of Brian Spears' interview. I hadn't seen that interview, but the moment I saw that interview the first time, I had that interview downloaded I don't know, I had like 1 month, and I hadn't paid attention to that. But the moment I saw that video, I said to myself, I see things here. I can see things in this video that I don't see anyone in any part of YouTube have said. And that brings me a lot of excitement. That brings me a lot of joy. I can bring something that I can share something for people to learn. The topic of Britney Spears, I want Britney Spears to be happy, to find peace, to be joyful. But I know that I can do only so much for that. I'm just a little bit dropped for that. But I know that my real, I don't know how to say that, my real goal, or what I really can do, is to try to be open to you. Open in the sense that I try to be unfiltered in my videos. If I have personal opinions, I have no problem in sharing them. My videos are not academic, for example, and I was very afraid of not making academic videos. And you can say that I have some videos that I try to play safe. And when I remember those videos, when I try to play it safe, being more academic, being less, I don't know, personal opinions, I don't feel well. I don't feel quite right about them. I said, this is not what I wanted to do. This is not about just learning body language. This is about showing the development of what is my path, of what is my kind of professional journey in the realm of body language. That, of course, it's something that fascinates me. Human behavior is something that I just love and I want to understand. And I have, it's something that I realized many, like a couple decades ago, that that's something that I can dedicate my life to. I really love. It's something I feel things that I love more than architectural drawing. I really love, I can tell you, love drawing buildings, houses, interiors, conceptual drawing. I drawing is part of my life. I love music. Music has been part of my life too. But there comes a time, there's also part of choosing your path. Choosing your path so you can focus your mental energy on it, a mental energy that you cannot measure. Choosing your path sometimes goes through identifying all the things that you can do and making a decision. Because at this moment, I would like to have I don't know, a musical instrument now, or be drawing to it. That's something that I love. But it's something like you have to choose. I had to choose, and I think I'm choosing well, and I like this decision that I made. What is the thing that I can do that has the most impact? I could have the most value. I could give the most value to the people that I reach. So maybe you could like my drawings, maybe you could like my songs, maybe you could like my art, my 3D modeling, but I think through my videos is a way that I feel fulfilled, because it's for me a better way to express my own journey, so you can understand my struggle, and in some way or another, of course, learn a bit of body language. That is always interesting, that is always fun to learn body language. But it also comes to full circle to the fundamental part of being really free, being blissful. You know that I always write and a sign at the end, much love and bliss. But for me, it's really important to feel blissful. And I always end up speaking a bit metaphysical, because there's no way that you can't, and it's a system, as I was talking earlier, there's no way you can extract or separate body language from human behavior. And there's no way that you can separate human behavior from human achievement or fulfillment. So something that you connect. No, it's something that is already connected at once. I'm sometimes ashamed, literally ashamed of thinking and overthinking and how can make these videos, my edited videos, more engaging and more engaging. And I overthink that. I do it over and over again. So that's why I decided to do a live today. You know that I'm sometimes don't feel that comfortable doing a live. You know, if you've seen all my lives, that I feel a little bit comfortable with the camera. I feel much more comfortable with my English. I know that if I made 2 lives per week or 1 live per week, well, I would have absolutely no problem with my English in a matter of months. But in the end, it's something like that. We need to show that real vulnerability. And what do I refer? What do I mean by real vulnerability? I think that we need to show, or we need to like understand how much are people trying, how hard are people trying. There's a lot of misconception about this. There's a great book that I always refer back to that talks about this, that it's important that people doesn't know how much work goes in what we do. And I think you'll find boring, quite boring, to realize all I have to do to create a recorded, edited video. I only want you to watch the result, but it's not necessary. But what is necessary is what you see that apparently comes easy to me is something that I have developed over many years of asking myself the question, why? What do I want to do? What do I want to do? What do I want to become? And that is the most important question that we can ask ourselves. The other question that I usually have is, who am I? Why am I here? But those are so profound and deep philosophical questions that sometimes we can get lost in them, and I don't think that's the idea. I want to be more practical. You know that I like to be practical when I give you this body language tips, when I give you interrogation tips. I want actionable tips, something that you can use, something that you can apply for yourself. And we're talking about mental health, we're talking about Simone Biles, we're talking about Naomi Osaka, we're talking about, hey, I cannot stand this, I decide to withdraw. That takes, in my opinion, when you reach a certain level, that takes a lot of courage. That's my personal opinion. Maybe you don't agree with that, and I agree with your right to not agree with me, and that's great. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be absolutely wrong. Maybe they should be. Maybe Naomi should stand in those press conferences. Maybe Simone should not have withdrawn from the Olympics. I don't know. What I know is that I'm not in the Olympics and I'm not the number one tennis player in the world. I just know what is my struggle. And I can understand to some extent, only to some extent, the struggle of these women. And that's important that we should consider. Just reflect upon that. Those are the kind of things that no, I like that. I like this comment. I am who I be or who I am. I am here to enjoy life. We are here to enjoy life. And the concept of enjoying life, the concept of enjoying life is not always about pleasure, because pleasure is fleeting. pleasure comes and go. Happiness. This is a hard concept. Sometimes this is a hard concept to swallow, but happiness comes and goes. We're not happy all the time. And most of the time, we're just getting by, and getting by is right. Getting by is great. If everything is working, I always say we got internet and we got hot water. We don't need anything else. I always say that. You got internet, we got hot water. You don't need anything else. But happiness, pleasure, everything is fleeting. It comes and goes. We need to enjoy life. We need to be able, I think the most important thing to enjoy life is to have the feeling. And I say a thing because this is not a set answer. The most important thing to enjoy life is to realize or to feel or to experience that what you do matters for at least one more person. And that's why I talk about system. That's about the etymology of the word individual. Individual that cannot be divided. No man is an island, and we need to feel, we need to, at some point, be sure that our actions affect positively the life of at least one other human being, of another human being. I think, I don't know how to express that, but I felt the most enjoy life, so to speak, when I feel that what I do affects people in a positive way. Thank you, Sherry, for your super sticker. Thank you very much. This is something that, I don't know, we all like. For example, say whatever I like. I love eating. I think that's some one of my guilty pleasures. I love to eat. I like, for example, Italian food, and that's a pleasure. But I cannot be eating Italian food all the time, of course, because I first I will get more of it. But if we think that what I do can affect or help people, or in some way or another make a connection with other persons, I guarantee you, you will be enjoying life. And this is not to say that you cannot enjoy things by yourself, because enjoying things by yourself is absolutely necessary sometimes. This is like the story of Buddha, if I recall correctly, that he retired to the mountains for many years, just meditation all alone, and in the end he said it was he wasted most of the time, because the real living, real life was among people. And that's something that we have to realize. We have to give time for ourselves. We have to set hours a week to just be bored. And the concept of being bored in this era is very complex, because we have these little machines. And with these little machines, it's very difficult to get bored. Why? Because the moment we feel the slightest sliver of boredom, we grab our little machines and begin scrolling, or begin, I don't know, checking, or begin playing a video game or anything. We don't get bored. We need to get bored. We need to stay in silence, no music, maybe a notebook with a pen or a pencil, and just be bored. 1 hour a week, and ask some questions, and just write away. And this is absolutely necessary. It is absolutely necessary to know ourselves. There is tragedy. There's a great tragedy in one living a life not knowing the most important person in your life, that is yourself. And I can say that because I spent decades not knowing myself. And I can say that it was after being 40. There's a saying that says that life starts at 40, when you are 40, and I couldn't agree more. I really agree with that statement, because it's something that you have been through so many experiences that you start to prune or cut what you don't like from your life, and really can give a real shot at what you do like. It will be it will be uh, like a lottery. If you are at 20 something, if you are like 19 years old, 20 years old, and you suddenly find what you want to do the rest of your life, that's a real lottery. And you don't even so you will be curious to try other things, and you will try other things and finally confirm what you want to do. But that knowing yourself is something that is incredibly important for your mental health. This book that I wrote, 2018, the main topic was purpose. Is 70 short stories from real life, from people that had no idea, at some point of their life, had no idea what to do with their lives. Famous people from history, of all actors, historians, scientists, politicians, are all a few lessons on persuasion, a few lessons on reflections. Again, if you want the whole book, day by day, just subscribe. I'm gonna. This live doesn't have the link yet in the description, but I don't know if I can add. I don't know if I can add an overlay right now. I'm try to add the overlay with the link. I'm gonna add it now. All right. Yes. There's a. As you go to that URL, you go to that link, kinesics.com/tips. You get to my mailing list, and I'm translating this book that I wrote in Spanish 3 years ago, and every 1 or 2 days, maybe once a day, I'll be sharing one chapter, translated, revised. So at the end, when I translate all 70 chapters, if you want to buy the book, totally optional, doesn't matter. It's just a gift I want to give you. And that way you can read one chapter. The chapters are very short. It's like 1,000 words and not very long. So it's not going to smash your inbox. But that's something that I was trying to find my purpose. So I wanted to. So I did some research, quite some research, on how people from history found that itch and how they scratch it. It's very important. It's extremely necessary. And I use the word tragedy of not finding that purpose. I had a conversation 2 years ago with a very good friend of mine. And I was talking to her about this topic of the book. And she told me something that I haven't forgotten up till now. She said to me that she did not want a purpose in life. She just wanted to have a normal life. I didn't answer anything at the moment, because it struck me like a Zen riddle, like a Zen riddle that just you. It sounds like nonsense to you at the moment, but you keep thinking about it. And I thought, but what she said, I want a normal life. I want a family. I want to raise a family. And I told to myself, and I told her later, what you're saying is really far from normal or simple or not having a purpose. Having a normal life or having a family is a purpose on itself. So that's like a paradox. You cannot not have a purpose, but at least you have to pick it. You have to choose it. You get to choose it. Most of us, I think, it's I I think if you're reading this, if you're listening to me now, you're living in some conditions that you can say, hey, I can pick my purpose. Patricia, thank you very much for your super sticker. Thank you. It's extremely important that you understand that there's gonna always be a purpose. There's some philosophers that can separate the purpose from human being. I'm not gonna go deep into that because maybe in another live I could mention them. I should make some research on them too. But I think that you cannot separate the purpose from the person. And that purpose at the same time can be flexible. But you can choose whatever you want your life to be. But you have to choose. It's important that you choose. You make that choice and you stick to it. And that is the hardest part. Because you have absolutely no guarantee that it could work. And I don't know, that for me, my artist side says that is beautiful. Not knowing if it could work, that's beautiful. That brings you excitement. If you are doing something that you know, if you're playing, I don't know, chess with someone that you're absolutely sure you're gonna beat them, that is boring. You're playing a game that you absolutely know that you're gonna win, that's boring. If you're watching a movie that you already know how it's gonna end, that's boring. But not having any guarantee about your choice, I don't know, I find it beautiful. You should like frame it as exciting. I know personal experience. I think that every one of us from personal experience have thought that it could be terrifying. Be really terrifying to pick someone and not know. I'm going to dedicate myself to this enterprise, to this business, to this career, to this I don't know, to this studies, to this project, and don't know if it's gonna go well. Could be terrifying. Even more terrifying, of course, if you have people that depend on you, if you have family that depend on you, if you are short on money, have to scramble to make things work, it could be really stressful. And that being stressed, that being too much stress, you need a bit of stress. Some amount of stress is necessary. If you have too much stress, you won't get very far. You're gonna crumble. If you have zero stress, you won't get anywhere either, because you will not care. If you got a little bit, just a little bit of stress, then that's the sweet spot. And that's another topic about mental health, withdrawing at the last point, and what should we do to realize, to understand what do we want to become. And I always say, what do we want to become? I usually don't want to these lives to go to be so long as being. Usually think that it should be like 1 hour and a half, and it's way past that. But I think one of the most important concepts that I want to give you to ponder today is that one. Is try to ask, what do you want to become? There's also the riddle, or I don't know if we call it a riddle, or the story of the alchemists of ancient times, and or the myth of the alchemists that they spend decades trying to transform any metal into gold. And the path that they took, the lessons that they learned towards alongside that path, all that they learned, when they finally achieve to transform metal into gold, they have also transformed themselves, and they had transformed into people that really did not care about the gold anymore. The transmutation was inside. It was a transmutation of the person itself. That's why it's so important. We can say, what do you want to do? And what do you want to do? Once you get to that, you build what you did, you have to look for another thing yet. But it's more profound to say, what do you want to become? And another thing that I'm gonna give you, just we're finishing life for today, is that when you think about what do you want to become, try to think about that as sculptor, a marble sculptor. Is that you already are. When you want to become, say to yourself that you already are. What do you want to become? What you want to become? You just have to chip away, like sculpt away everything that is not that what you want to reach. All right? Realize that you already are what you want. It's very easy. It doesn't have. It's just framing your way of thinking. It's like, how do you frame the way you think about what you want to do? That is important for your mental health. Knowing where you want to go. Once you know where you want to go, then you can find the path to go there. But you have to choose. You have to choose, right? Like I said, become a Kung Fu master. And once you become a Kung Fu master, focus on how to get there. That is important. You have to make a choice, and make a choice. What do you want to do, and what do you want to become? If at any point, even if society is pressuring you, you say, I don't want to do this, then do and act as you feel and as you want. You say, I don't want to do this, then act and do not do it. It's that simple. There's another Zen story that two men were talking about another ancient man, another wise man. And one of the men said, that man is the most powerful man in the world. And the second man said, how come that? How is he the most powerful man in the world? Well, go and ask him. And he went to the wise man and, hey, he says that you're the most powerful man in the world. How come is that? How come you are the most powerful man in the world? And the answer from the old man was, when I'm hungry, I eat. When I'm thirsty, I drink. And when I'm sleepy, I sleep. That was all the answer. That's the most powerful man in the world. It's something that maybe makes no sense when we first listen to it. It sounds a bit absurd. But sometimes the answer is simple. The execution For example, like this. There's a comment here like, how do you change something in your life that you don't know how to change? You don't have to change everything at once. Never try to change everything at once. All right? Just begin modeling your head, your thinking, your mind to what do you want, where do you want to go, and what do you want to become. Start at it. And try in the next live, in next Veronica is mentioning Michelangelo that sculpted his angels from the stone. Yeah, Michelangelo was exactly like Andre Agassi. Michelangelo painted the Sistine Chapel roof. The Sistine Chapel roof is considered the greatest work of art in human history. The greatest work of art in human history is said to be the roof of the Sistine Chapel. And Michelangelo did not like to paint. He hated it. He hated painting. He only agreed to paint the roof of the Sistine Chapel so they can have like the contract of the sculptors of the I don't remember of another venue, so he could sculpt. What he wanted to do was a sculpt. He was a sculptor. That's what he loved. But to get the contract of the sculptors, hey, you first have to paint the Sistine Chapel roof, and that took him 2 years and a half of doing something that he hated. That's something to think about. That's something to think about. I always think about that. Hey, the guy really liked sculpting, so he did a real sacrifice for that. So, talk about, well, someone will say, hey, Michelangelo didn't think about mental health. He even fell from the scaffold once painting the Sistine Chapel. He hurt himself a lot when he fell, but it's that he loved so much what he wanted to do. He loved so much art that he was willing to pay any price for that. But there's also moments when we have to say, hey, I have to pause. I have to make a slight pause on my path, on the road. I have to think about what is expecting people from me and what do I think and I'm capable of. I know that I need a pause. Your body, your mind will tell you need to stop. Not permanently. That is the most important thing. It's not a permanent pause. But if your body, your mind says you need a pause, that's an alarm that's beginning to sound in your body. And you will notice, maybe you have friends or family that say, hey, I begin feeling some tension on my neck, tension on my shoulders. I have a stiff arm. I don't know why I'm feeling this way. They go to chiropractors and they feel fine for 1 or 2 days, but the tension comes back. They go to acupuncture and it solves a bit, but the tension stays. That's the body. That's the body is screaming, you have to stop. Those kind of tensions is the body saying you have to stop. There's something that you're doing wrong, right? I'm standing a lot. I'm standing a bit today, but these are topics that fascinate me, and I'm really grateful to have 144 of you, my beautiful body language buddies, here sharing this moment with me. I cannot understand your patience and your interest in all this, but I'm trying to desperately to present or present, is that present or present? I don't remember now. To these ideas in a way that resonate with your own experience that I don't know. I would love to know your experience. I made a post on the community tab of the channel about that I wanted to. I'm planning a world tour on second half of 2022 or first half of 2023. I will love to meet you in person. I think it will be great. I don't know, a small, medium, large venues. I don't care if we. I'm planning like something like a stand up routine for 2 hours, meeting in a venue, and then talking, have some conversations. That will be great. And any place in the world is fair game. I'm thinking that's something that I want to do. I'm hoping to start next year. I will not be angry if it doesn't start next year, but I know that is something that I'm gonna do sometime. And I'm really sure that this relationship that we have, as I said, is gonna last many years. It's gonna last decades, and I'm great. I'm really excited about that. But I would like also to meet you in your city, your culture. I think really important to see face to face. There's many things that we can say face to face that we cannot feel the same way in with a camera. This is a really great technology, but I would like to listen to your questions and answer to your questions live, person to person, and that will be great. We'll have to wait a bit for that. But if we have a little patience, I know that we'll be able to do that. And so we were talking about mental health. We're talking what you want to become. We're talking that no matter the pressure, you have to listen to your body, listen to your common sense, and understand that you sometimes will want to just quit. And you will have to analyze, you have to take a good look if what you're living, what you're going through is what you really want. And your goals are aligned with where you really want to be. It's really fascinating topic. I'm really thankful for you accompanying me, being with me, sharing with me this this moment, this 2 hours. Never thought that we're gonna last so much, but really grateful for your insights. I'm going to take time to read through your comments. I'm going to take time to answer in a post about everything that we are talking so far. If I see any interesting questions, maybe I could share that in a post. Also, there's my Instagram. You know my Instagram. Let me change it here. There's also my Instagram here, Instagram.com, the body language guide. Yeah, that's the for my Instagram. And I want to do this full time. I want to dedicate myself to this. I could do this every day, but I think that it could be more topics. It could be a bit shorter. I don't know, but if you want to support my channel, you can become a member now. There's a button beside the subscribe button that says join, and you can join, become a member of my channel. You make a payment, monthly payment, so you can support me doing these lives and these videos. So it will be really great if you consider becoming a member and support me. If not, no worries. If you just have to subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet, and sharing this video is also really helpful for me. Also, any feedback on the topics that you want. there comes this week should come an analysis on Britney Spears' mother, the Erica Jane video with Tom Girardi comes this week too. Maybe that will be the first one. Maybe it will be in 2 days on Wednesday. Maybe yeah, it will be a good day because there's quite a lot of content, and there are other topics about narcissists. I'm going to try to make one narcissist video every week and another guided meditation this weekend. Only make sure to subscribe to my email list, subscribe here, and if you want to become a member to support my channel, I will be really grateful if you join and support my channel. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing this moment. Thank you for correcting my English, and thank you for especially reflecting of what we said here, we expressed here. That's the most important thing. That's my main goal. I have so many experiences that can be adapted to what you are going through now, and I know that it can be useful to you. That will be my greatest reward. I will be really blissful with that. Thank you, my body language buddies. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the body language guy, and I'm really happy to having shared this live with you. Take care and have a great evening. Bye bye.